Hello, everybody. I'm Theo Tountas. I'm working in Greece. I'm active in Athens, and I want to present our research regarding the trends in building and ductwork airtightness in Greece. So let's start with the building market at the moment. So I have the data from the Hellenic Statistical Authority, where we can see that for 2 years, from 2018 to 2020, we had a 23% increased the building permits, and about 18% an increase of the new building areas. So from 3.5 million square meters to 4.1 million square meters, more or less. At the same time, we have a large building stock, about 4 million buildings, in which about 3 million are residential, and everything else is school, hospitals, shops and business premises, hotels, churches, etc. Talking about energy consumption, because now we are talking on air tightness, because air tightness is the key factor for the energy consumption. So again, according to the statistic in Greece, we have about 300 kilowatt hours per square meter for residential buildings, 450 the consumption kilowatt hours per square meter for hotels, and 790 for public buildings. So we can see that we have a large amount of consumption for buildings in Greece. At the moment, we issue the energy certificate, but there is no prevention or specification or requirement to check the airtightness of the building. What we do have, of course, we know that it is important, and we take into account the airtightness. So we consider the airtightness, but we don't measure the real airtightness at the moment. So we can see in the official form of energy inspection of buildings of the Greek Ministry, we know that the airtightness depends on type of frames, quality of the cracks, obviously we talk about the envelope, and the orientation of the frames. Well, this is a point where this is a small misunderstanding, because we believe that airtightness depends only on the frames. And then the same description, we can see that it is the unintentional ventilation. It is said that it cannot be easily estimated, and there are empirical practices to calculate their infiltration. So the energy inspection is not easy to carry out, so we still haven't a lot of information coming from our ministry regarding the effective, the real testing methods. So we also have this specification telling that even in cases of windows certified for their airtightness, the air penetration cannot be determined, because it depends on the final position of the frames, obviously, the building envelope. So also the Technical Chamber of Greece is dividing 3 categories: low, medium and high categories of air tightness. And regarding the building envelope, it is stated that the leakages of the building envelope is equal to 0. So we take under consideration that the envelope is perfect, and we use a lot of default values, as we can see, for our regulation, for our calculation. For example, there are typical penetration values due to cracks per unit. So we have some numbers here, and I can give you an example of how to take under consideration, for example, the main entrance. So if the gap under the main entrance is less than 1 centimeter, it's taken to be 0. And if it's more than 1 centimeter, it's taken to be, we take under consideration 10 cubic meters per hour. So there are a lot of default values and that are being applied to the calculation. For the last 6 years, there has not been any upgrade of the regulation. So we still build new houses with outdated guidelines, which means that buildings built with an A+ today, with the next someday upgraded regulation, probably there will be B- or B+, I don't know. But there is no regulation or national directives regarding the measurement of the air tightness. There is no official testing method and no limits in the market, but we just have freelancers, more freelancers coming in the market in Greece, and we use for buildings less than 7,500 cubic meters, we use some numbers related to N50 air changes per hour. So regarding the energy performance, the calculation, we use the called KENAC, the regulation of energy performance for buildings, and we have this table 324, where we have numbers. So here we can prove that we realize the importance of the air tightness. But by using only default values, we do not reward a better installer from a worst installer, or we do not reward a very good company of aluminium or PVC or whatever, comparing to another, but just by using default numbers. So regarding the test protocols, there's not any official certification. Until today, we have about 50 qualified testers in Greece, and the air tightness test is promoted a lot by Passive House Institute and our Steganotita company. And lately, we have companies like Alumil that are training their engineers to learn to confirm the good quality of their frames and their work. So it's getting better, more known, the issue of air tightness. At the moment in our market, the only companies that require the blower door test is the Lidl for the buildings, the supermarkets Lidl, and some new buildings under renovation or new buildings, new constructions are asking for an inspection, mostly when there are problems, or even if there are, obviously, if there are passive houses. And regarding the mechanical ventilation system with heat recovery, which is not very widespread in Greece yet, and we all know that if we have an N50 more than 3, the efficiency of these machines do not work. So it's not very known as a method. Regarding the database, we have since 2011 about 100 measurements. Of course, there are more measurements. We invite colleagues to share with us and to make a bigger database. And now I'm just having a quick presentation of the 100 database controls tests we performed for the last 12 years, more or less. So out of 52 premises that remained as they were built from 1967 to 2015, the N50 was 6.49 air changes per hour, and we measured 34 refurbished premises. With N50, the average was 3.43. So we can see that even if a refurbished premise has been, even if a building has been refurbished, we still are about in a bad air tightness. And new buildings, we measured 14 new buildings, new constructions that were in about 2.4 air changes per hour. So we have improved a lot the construction, obviously, but regarding the air tightness, there is more to do. Regarding the guidelines at the moment, there are not any signs of guidelines and standards to be insert. Unfortunately, there's a misconception because the ministry talks about air tightness and believes that the air tightness has to do only with the frames. And there's a problem because, for example, the Association of Certified Energy Inspectors in Greece has stated in 2020 that the measurements made by expensive equipment are not, we don't need them, in simple words, because these standards are for Germany and not for somehow. Obviously, these misconceptions come because the Passive House Institute has has promoted a lot of the airtightness. So it is believed that it's from Germany, but it's not, it's European, it's worldwide. We know that airtightness is important. So we should reframe, and we invite our colleagues to reframe and to see how we can build better buildings by improving the airtightness. Regarding the cost of the machinery, we all know that thermal cameras, which are much more expensive, are in the market. So the market proceeds, the market is in front of the request. So we have a lot of freelancers that are already performing blow-door tests, and it's good to have more data. As a conclusion, I would say that we realize the importance of airtightness, but we still don't have a way of calculation on measuring the tightness. There are no official guidelines at the moment, and the only sign is that the market is ahead, and a lot of innovative companies are trying to follow up, catch up by the airtightness controls. Since last month, we have the Greek Airtightness Testing Association, where we invite freelancers to take part of it in our association, to share with us their data, to share with us and make a larger data. We saw that in France, they have more than 500,000 of tests in their country. We have about 100 at the moment, maybe it's 200 in Greece, so we have a lot to improve. And finally, regarding the ductwork, well, the ductwork is also important to control the tightness, but we only speak in our legislation about visual inspection, and we know that they have to be tight, but there's no way of controlling it. Last year in 2022, we have a new draft technical specification to renew the 2009 technical specification regarding the ducts. And the only difference regarding the latest version is that the Pitot method is described, and we know that we have to control the ducts, but we still don't know the way to do it, so there's not a request for this technique. So we have a lot to do. That was all from Greece. Thank you for your attention.